welcome to the deep dive. Our mission, really, is to take this stack of source material you've given us, notes, articles, transcripts, and just really plunge in.
Yeah, not just skim the surface. We want to dig deep, find those important nuggets, those surprising insights about the world described in here.
And you've brought us something, well, pretty compelling this time. These feel like excerpts pulled straight out of a story, right? A post-apocalyptic reality.
Definitely. You get these really distinct characters, different factions, ideas about how to survive, perilous journeys, intense personal stuff.
All drawn directly from what you've shared, so it's going to be quite a ride.
It is. Expect exploring ruins, navigating these strange new societies, dealing with dangerous territories, and seeing, order, but also real brutality. It's survival after everything changed.
Okay, let's jump right in. Let's unpack this landscape. The sources starts off with a really striking scene. This massive car pileup.
Right, yeah, right at the beginning. It's described as just vast, clearly years old. An evacuation that went horribly wrong, just left there. Twisted metal everywhere.
And the details are so specific and grim. You've got these thick-lensed glasses.
With rotting flesh still stuck in the bridge. That detail really lands.
And finding useless cash, credit cards, driver's licenses.
Yeah.
And that thought from Emerson, the character scavenging, about the driver being an organ donor, just chillin'.
It grounds you immediately. And the cause of this particular scene, it's tied to one of the unique things in your sources. This weapon called the creep.
Ah, the creep. That viscous blue fog.
Well, it's described as not quite fog, not liquid either. It sort of blows around like tumbleweeds. But the really interesting part is its effect. It wasn't initially physical damage.
Oh, psychological, right? Enragement, impatience.
Exactly. It drove people in traffic jams into this frenzy. Demolition derbies on the highways. Now, prolonged exposure was deadly, sure, but the immediate effect was mass insanity.
So the creep caused this pileup. The source flat out says only that kind's insanity could explain it. That's a huge insight. This world wasn't just broken by bombs, maybe, but by weapons targeting the mind. And it lingers.
A really unsettling idea. And just as Emerson's dealing with this wreckage, something else arrives. A symbol of the new powers.
This big rig, the armor-clad semi linked to Alas's.
Yeah, and the description is powerful. Black, blood-red band, jagged teeth on the plow, wider than the trailer's machine gun turrets. 4 trailers taking up the whole road.
A moving wall of darkness, the text calls it.
It just instantly sets up Alas's as this major, probably brutal force, a real contrast to the scattered ruins.
Okay, let's shift focus. Following another thread in your material, we land in a town called New Hope, and they're getting ready for a fight. Likely against someone like Alas's.
You see them stringing barbed wire, planting defenses on a map. It's almost poignant how they use these symbols. Arrows for archers, apparently, after a lot of debate. Doves for fire people, ambulances for medics.
Trying to bring old world logic to new world problems.
And this is where Logan comes in. His background, based on what you've provided, is, well, it's layered. Arrived at Alas's half dead, talked his way in. Or conned his way in, seems more like it.
And we learn about his past connection with Jerry, out west somewhere. That partnership seems key to how Logan sees things.
It comes out in his conversation with Roy Ter. He says Jerry was a librarian, survived a year in a bomb shelter just reading.
And Logan's take.
Jerry got too smart for his own good. That's the quote.
And he tells that story, that awful story about eternal hope in Colorado. Jerry used his book knowledge, convinced them he had sound military tactics.
But it completely failed. The source is really clear. Defenses didn't work. Bandits came right in the front gate. Town overwhelmed. Jerry vanishes.
And no one else survived among the townsfolk.
Yeah. Logan puts it all on Jerry. The screams, the blood, that's Jerry's burden, Jerry's fault. But what's fascinating is the source points out Logan also calls Jerry a con man and a harmless bookworm. It's contradictory.
That really speaks to this theme, doesn't it? What kind of knowledge actually works in this world? Logan clearly thinks Jerry's theoretical stuff is dangerous, actively harmful.
A stark warning against relying purely on old world intellect, perhaps. We also meet Sarah in New Hope, the mayor's daughter. And she does not trust Logan.
No. The text mentions her giving him the finger. And his response is interesting. You're right not to trust me.
Quite an admission. And then he confesses later, right, that he staged that attack on the road with Mike Jackson and Jeff Williams just to gain trust. And he notes Sarah was the first murderer he'd involved like that. Adds another dark layer to Logan. Deception as a survival tool.
Okay, let's move from New Hope. Your sources take us to another place. The mountain kingdom of the 5 Peaks. And this place has some strange customs.
Definitely strange. That reaction to the princess being abducted, it's really jarring.
Yeah, there's this initial shock. Tears, maybe,
Yeah.
but then almost immediately, people are just shrugging, going back to their day.
In talking about how she never really belonged anyway and who the next princess might be, it's incredibly pragmatic, almost detached. Like she was just a functional part of the system.
It feels less like personal grief, more like a bureaucratic hiccup that needs fixing. Shows how different societies are coping, or maybe not coping, with loss.
And speaking of how people interact, the sources mention small talk is basically a lost art.
Right. It used to be safe stuff, sports, weather. Now banter is about figuring out if someone's a threat. But what do you talk about when those common things are gone?
So they fall back on remember when, remembering electricity, using indoor toilets described as a luxury, or when mutants weren't, everywhere, bonding over shared loss.
This is also where we pick up Jerry's story again. He's been conscripted by the king, traveling on this train. And the journey sounds tedious.
Slower than the speed of interesting is the phrase used. Low bridges, just tree after tree, monotony.
And the guards with him are silent at first. Then boredom sets in. They start talking about bounty hunters.
Mentioning Dead-Eyed Dick Devlin, call him the best shot in the wasteland.
But there's that tiny detail, Jerry mutters, second best. The guard doesn't hear. It hints Jerry knows more than he's letting on, maybe about himself.
Yeah, it's intriguing. He also connects with another conscript, Shane. They make a pact. Watch out for one another, which feels significant in a world where trust is so hard to come by.
Then they arrive at the Mountain Kingdom. We meet Bray, who seems forced into being hospitable to Erica. And we learn this rule. The gates close when a group leaves. Why? To stop people leaving for good.
Another little detail showing the control mechanisms these new societies use.
And then things get violent. Raiders attack the train. Jerry's in the thick of it, falls off.
And Shane saves him, following through on their pact. The fight itself sounds brutal. Baseball bat with barbed wire, a chain, nasty stuff.
Jerry does something incredibly risky too, swinging under the train car to take out a raider. Real desperation move.
But the interaction after the fight is maybe the most disturbing part. With the man in black, Prince Robert.
His reaction is just cold. He shoots at the fleeing raiders, okay, but then Shane gets attacked, and Robert refuses to help, says Shane is not worth a bullet.
Just like that. Jerry's furious, obviously. But Robert's final line to Jerry, "You might be, though." It hangs there. What makes Jerry valuable in his eyes?
It's a brutal calculation, isn't it? Value isn't loyalty or shared experience. It's purely about future use. Shane fought. He's done. Expendable. Jerry. Maybe he's useful.
Let's shift again to maybe the most unsettling place in your sources. Tolerance. Even the name feels wrong.
Deeply ironic. The description mentions its odd way of dealing with panic and its abundance of secrets. That alone tells you something's off.
And the rules. They're just bizarre. People got so scared of disagreement, apparently, that having an opinion was like carrying a concealed weapon. Friendships, families, broken over belief.
Leading to that chilling line the source gives us, it was best if you just didn't feel anything at all.
Wow. That says everything, doesn't it? A society actively built on suppressing emotion, suppressing thought, just out of fear. That's a profound look at how collective trauma can twist a community.
And this manifests in their public spectacles, these trials. Basically, bread and games, Roman style.
The one described as a cage fight against a bear, though Jerry wonders maybe it's just a guy in a suit.
The arena sounds grim. Floor littered with obstacles, weapons just mounted on the cage walls, and the crowd. If anyone tries to escape, they pelt them with bottles, debris. It's punishment as entertainment.
The sources also give us a glimpse into this mine system nearby. Erica gets marched there. It's described as oppressive, this American tunnel stretching 5 miles down, crushing heat, darkness, constant clanging noise.
And we meet Elias in the mine. He used to be the king. His take is, the people asked it of me.
Which Erica immediately challenges. She thinks declaring yourself king could go so wrong. They argue down there in the dark about justice, defense, being stuck in a hole.
Erica makes a strong point, though. She says she'd be down there anyway, just for defending herself against someone who tried to hurt her. Highlights how arbitrary justice feels there.
And tolerance is where we encounter the Skinners.
Yeah. The sources are blunt about them. Alas's worst killers. They kill for fun, skin their victims alive, eat their victims alive.
And they're only let loose when Alas is really, really pissed off. Just pure terror weapons.
They show up in the tolerance arena wearing animal war paint. You can imagine the atmosphere shift.
And this is where Mr. Christopher, the bounty hunter we met earlier, runs afoul of tolerance. He gets arrested for speaking his mind. I will not be told what to do or what to hate.
He fights back, gets thrown in the cage with Jerry.
Jerry makes that guess about the bear suit. But Christopher knows better. When the Skinners appear, he panics. He knows exactly who they are.
Which leads to that moment. Just
Yeah.
brutal. Jerry needs to escape. The axe is attached to the handcuffs connecting him and Christopher.
And Jerry severs Christopher's hand.
The scream, the blood, Jerry's line, "I'll bet you remember me now." It's just cold, calculated survival.
And instantly, he uses the severed hand, the cuffs, swings it to get the bear's attention, a distraction to make his escape. It's horrific, but completely pragmatic in that situation.
Okay, moving on from that horror, let's follow Erica after she escapes the mines. She finds this brief, almost surreal moment of kindness with Henry and Lynn in their minivan.
They feel like ghosts from the old world, don't they? The minivan, the snacks they offer her, Henry's terrible dad joke about car salesmen, even arguing about the blinker. It's so mundane, it's startling.
And their genuine kindness, their protectiveness of Erica, it feels incredibly fragile in this setting.
Which makes their encounter with Willie and Coy even more jarring. These two try to block the road with a fallen tree. The source paints them as pretty inept, trying to catch Erica for the Skinners.
They even have that weird conversation about Skinner method skinning versus eating alive. Like, it's just a normal shop dog.
Yeah.
Shows how desensitized some people have become.
And Henry. He goes full old man, tells them to move the tree off his road because he paid taxes on it. It's completely out of touch with the reality they're in.
Erica's terrified. She warns him he's going to get himself killed. She sees the danger. But Henry thinks some boys just need a good talking to.
And this moment prompts a really insightful observation from Erica, recorded in the source. She thinks about how, she'd seen awful things, but never people doing them so easily or so consistently as the people tied to tolerance, the ones who eventually capture her again, including the cat hater and Christian characters mentioned. It suggests something about how ideology, even a twisted one, can enable systematic cruelty.
Unfortunately, that old world approach doesn't work.
Yeah.
Mr. Christopher, minus a hand, but still bounty hunting, catches up to Erica.
His motivation is clear. The bounty. And he's creepy. I can't wait to hear your life story, he says to her.
And that detail about Chewy, the dog, straining on the rope, trying to reach Erica, it's heartbreaking.
Erica screams, Christopher knocks her down. His plan is to tag the dog with information, using an animal like that.
Meanwhile, Jerry hears the barking, the screams. He ditches the knights he was with. The pursuit is on.
He has to dodge a Lass's patrol, starts on a motorcycle, but eventually gets back to his truck. The Hellcat.
Yeah, the sources really build the tension here. Jerry's doubt, hoping the storm slows Christopher down. That image of the truck's engine, the 700 horses shaking the garage. You feel his urgency.
And it leads to that final, tragic confrontation with Henry and Lynn's minivan, where Christopher now has Erica.
You see Erica's eyes pleading with Jerry. She nods. She fights for the shotgun inside the van.
Jerry pulls that risky move. Cops did this back when there were cops, he thinks, forcing the minivan off the road, into the ditch. A ruthless tactic from the old world, used here.
He runs to the van, calling her name.
And finds silence, no pulse. The description is stark. Rage just burns out every other feeling in him.
He kills Henry. Brutally. There's that one moment, that flicker of love kissing Erica's forehead.
Yeah.
Then the rage takes over again.
The source ends that section simply. Jerry buried the woman, drove north, just devastating.
Your sources also sketch in a few other characters, other groups, adding more texture to this world.
Right, briefly, there's Hawk Johnson and the Iron Eagles, a motorcycle gang, but with a twist.
They're nearly all former dentists, middle-aged dentists turned bikers.
Yeah. It's wild. They're strict American iron bikes only. Hawk fully embraces this criminal persona, even has a taxidermied hawk, Failer, on his shoulder. And he's brutal if crossed, like with that character drool.
And they try to stop Jerry's truck at one point, and fail.
Right. Adds another layer to Jerry's capabilities, or maybe just the power of that truck. And then we loop back to Willie and Coy.
The two morons, as the source calls them.
Their incompetence is kind of a running theme. Trying to catch Erica, failing. Trying to get money from Christopher, failing. Getting confused by tolerance, but escaping anyway.
And despite everything, they decide, hey, let's try and catch Jerry ourselves.
They almost provide this dark comedic relief, these bumbling figures navigating this incredibly dangerous world, driven by simple greed or maybe just lack of anything better to do.
Okay. Let's pull back. We've dived deep into this material. What's the bigger picture here? What does it all add up to?
Well, we've seen this incredibly varied landscape, haven't we? The stark ruins, the organized might of Alasses, the strange pragmatism of the Mountain Kingdom, the utterly warped society of tolerance.
And those little flashes of something else, like Henry and Lynn's kindness, however brief.
And look at the survival strategies. You've got scavenging, pure force, rigid systems, twisted ideology, individual grit like Jerry and Erica, people clinging to the past, people just causing chaos.
It really forces you to confront the human element under extreme pressure.
Yeah.
Acts of incredible kindness right alongside betrayal, shocking violence, and how easily some people adapt to doing terrible things.
Yeah, and the weight of loss, the trauma, you see it shaping characters like Jerry and Logan profoundly.
So, thinking about the specific world you've shown us in these sources, it raises some big questions. About human nature, maybe.
Definitely. Is building these rigid, sometimes cruel societies like tolerance or aspects of the Mountain Kingdom, is that just what happens? An inevitable response to chaos?
Or are there things from the old world, like that kindness Henry and Lynn showed, that are worth holding on to, even if, well, it didn't save them?
And what knowledge truly matters now? Is it Jerry's books, Alas's brute force, Logan's cunning, or something else entirely? And crucially, what's the cost of gaining those skills, of surviving in that world?
Really powerful things to think about. Thank you for bringing these sources, this world, for us to explore like this. It's been fascinating.